Hello again. Well, it seems I've been dragged out of hibernation by those nice people at QHY who wanted me to show you this, the PoleMaster. It's something that seems to be causing quite a bit of excitement at the moment. It has been out for a short while, and it's still, in effect, it's still being perfected. There are driver updates due and everything. So what we're going to do with it is we're going to go and do an out-of-the-box review of it, and then just talk a little bit about how it actually works. It's basically it's a polar alignment system for quite a few of the mounts that are used commonly by most people in the hobby. But anyway, let's just have a look in the box. First of all, it does come in a nice box like that, and it's actually quite nicely packed. You know, with foam surrounds and everything. When we start to pull the parts out, there's various bits and pieces in there. We've got this, which is an adapter, and as you can see, this one's marked with NEQ6. These adapters are available for a whole plethora of mounts, and you can actually look on the QHY website and see what mounts that this is available for, this adapter. What it means is that you don't actually have to buy another camera if you change your mount or you upgrade your mount or anything. And not only that, if you've got some of the mounts that it doesn't cater for, I would imagine that you can actually quite easily make something up. I mean, now with the popularity of 3D printers and everything, there's probably quite a lot that you can do with it. And we'll look at these parts in a little more detail as we work through them. As we pull some of the packing out, we've got the camera itself, which is like that with a nice little lens cap on it, and we've also got a small cover there. I will go through these parts in a little bit more detail in a moment. Now we've got the lead for the camera itself. Now this is a major upgrade for QHY. A lot of people have the same niggle as I did, really, is that a lot of the astronomy cameras, not just QHY, we used to struggle with the connection method. You know, the connections work loose. The USB is just a really crap method of connecting stuff that's being moved about on a regular basis, which generally in astronomy it is. So what we've got on this is the camera itself has a USB socket on it, but as you can see there are two holes there, one each side of the actual socket, because we've got a fixing USB plug, which means that it plugs in and then it screws up onto the actual camera, a little bit like the monitor connections on a PC. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but that is a vast improvement. I'm really happy to see that. Now, what we also have is, quite surprisingly, we have a small set of tools there to go with it. Now, there are also 3 bolts in there because the adapter that fixes it to the mount is actually in 2 parts, like so. Now, this minor part, I don't know if you can see that, but it has 3 holes in it that correspond with 3 holes on the back of the camera, which means that needs to be fitted to there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a minute and I'm going to just bolt that adapter onto the camera itself, and then we'll go through the parts in a little bit more detail. Right, we're back again, and I've now bolted that particular part onto the camera. Going through the box, I did actually have a part that I had no idea whatsoever what it was for. It's basically sort of a piece of string with a little threaded section on the end. There's no mention of it in the instructions or anything, but I have got that figured out. So if you end up in the same boat, the lens cap on the actual camera has what looks like a little hole in it, and this actually screws in there like so, and it's so that you can tether the lens cap to a part of your equipment so that you don't lose it. Now, as I said, this is the lens cap on the front. Let's just take that off there so you can have a look, and it's basically just a camera. The other part of the adapter, which is this fixes into the in this connotation, the NEQ6, it goes into the hole on the top of your mount that your polar scope would normally view through, and you use an Allen key that again is included, and there are little screws that screw outwards and lock it into position on your mount. Now those nice people at QHY have even provided a cap that fixes onto that. You actually leave this adapter on your mount, so you can cap it as you normally would. You can take the cap off and you can use your polar scope as you would normally use it. You know, just sort of looking through. Obviously, using this system, you don't really need to do that anymore. You don't need to look through your polar scope. So what you do when you're actually setting up is this is then fitted to your mount. The camera slots into the adapter and gets tightened by a thumb screw, and then it gets connected to your computer, and basically the magic's done that we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. Like I said, all the bits and pieces come with it. That I'm really happy with. I'm really happy with the fact that this fitting is the way it is. The instruction manual and the drivers for the software, they are all available for download on the QHY website. My minor niggle, and it's not just QHY, I'm not going to blame QHY for it, because it's the same for every single Chinese manufacturer. You do have to work your way through the instructions about 7 times before you start to understand it, and to be honest, there's no excuse for that anymore. There's enough exports of Chinese goods into English-speaking countries now that it should be sorted, that, because it's been going on for a long time. So right, next what we're going to talk about is the operation of how it all works, this camera. And basically this is what happens. You take the camera, fix it to your mount. You start the software up, and you will see an image on your screen. You need to be pointing roughly at Polaris anyway, so it doesn't solve the thing if you've got a tree in front of Polaris and stuff. It still doesn't cure that. What you do is you point it at a fixed star, and the software then will see a bright star somewhere. So you then rotate your mount through the RA using your controller. When you rotate the mount through the RA, it's watching that stationary star, that bright star, and what it's doing is it's calculating what the centre of rotation is of the RA of your mount as it goes round, so it knows exactly the centre of rotation of your RA. You actually have to do 2 rotations in total, and it then marks on your computer screen where the centre of rotation is. It puts an indicator there. The next thing is, at stage 2, you tell it where Polaris is. There's like little overlays and everything, so it in effect it almost plate solves, so it knows where Polaris is. So now it gives you 2 indicators on your screen. One's red and one's green, and what you do is you simply adjust your mount and you overlay the 2 indicators. Once those 2 indicators are overlaid, that's it. Your mount then is polar aligned, and the results of people that have been doing tracking with it, guiding, and they've put the graphs up. The graphs are just the mind blowing. They're almost completely flat. I've not heard a bad report about these cameras yet. Well, actually, yes, I have. I've heard one, and it turned out that the guy was actually using it wrong. So you can do your own research on it. It's just an absolute winner. These things at the minute are just flying out the doors. People are going mad for them, and it is a really nicely engineered, good quality piece of kit. Now, a lot of people may not know this, but I've actually given up on astronomy now. I lost my mojo, as it were. But I've no doubt whatsoever that if I was still in the hobby, I would definitely get hold of one of these. Well, I have got hold of one, but I would definitely get hold of one, because it's a really simple tool at the end of the day. If you think about it in simplicity, It basically, it works out what the rotation is of your mount, and it knows what position is of the sky, puts two pictures on your screen and you match them up, and that's basically it. That's as simple as it gets. So is it recommended? Well, yeah, absolutely, and I think the sales on it will be proving that, because they are flying out the window. Like I said, you can get lots of different adapters for it to fit it to different types of mounts. If you change your mount, it's not a problem. So yeah, it's a big thumbs up from me on the QHY PoleMaster. Very happy with the way that it seems to be out of the box. And once again, thanks for watching.